Johnny Depp is back on the stage. But this time, he's not playing Captain Jack Sparrow. He's not wearing a Hollywood costume. And there's no movie camera following him. There's just a guitar in his hands, thousands of fans in front of him, and some of the biggest names in rock standing beside him. After almost 3 years away from European stages, Hollywood vampires have officially returned. And their comeback has already produced some unforgettable moments.
Johnny Depp,
Alice Cooper, Joe Perry, Tommy Henriksen, and then a surprise guest walked onto the stage. Ronnie Wood of the Rolling Stones. Suddenly, what was already a major comeback became something much bigger. Because this wasn't simply another celebrity appearance. It was a genuine rock and roll reunion. On August 12th, Hollywood Vampires opened their European tour at London's O2 Arena. And Johnny Depp wasn't standing in the background. He was actively part of the performance. One concert review highlighted Depp taking a guitar solo during Raise the Dead, while he also took lead vocals on People Who Died. For fans who mainly know Depp from movies, this offered a completely different view of the actor. The Hollywood star disappeared. The musician came forward. And then came the surprise. During the encore, Ronnie would join the vampires on stage. Wood performed with Depp, Joe Perry, and the rest of the band, adding another legendary guitarist to an already extraordinary lineup. But why does this matter so much? Because Johnny Depp's relationship with music goes much deeper than simply being a famous actor who happens to play guitar. Music was part of his life long before he became one of Hollywood's biggest stars. And Hollywood Vampires has allowed him to reconnect with that side of himself. The band isn't built around Depp's movie career. It's built around rock music, around legendary artists, around songs that influence generations, and around the idea of keeping the spirit of classic rock alive. That's why this 2026 return feels different. Johnny Depp isn't trying to prove that he's a rock star. He's simply returning to something he has always loved. And the audience reaction suggests they were ready for it. The Hollywood Vampires tour is now continuing through the UK and Europe, with dates scheduled into September. But there's another major development that makes this comeback even more interesting. The band has also released a new live album at Montreux Jazz Festival, and it arrived on August 14th, just 2 days after the London tour kickoff. So suddenly, Johnny Depp isn't just returning to the stage. Hollywood Vampires are returning with new live material, new concerts, new performances, and new moments that are already getting people talking. And perhaps the biggest question is this: could this be more than just a short rock comeback? Could 2026 mark the beginning of a much bigger musical chapter for Johnny Depp? Because if the first few shows are any indication, the rock star inside Johnny Depp isn't going anywhere. And this comeback may have only just begun. Hollywood Vampires had already made a statement by returning to the stage. But then, Ronnie Wood walked out. At the August 12th show at London's O2 Arena, the Rolling Stones guitarist joined Johnny Depp, Alice Cooper, Joe Perry, and Tommy Henriksen during the encore. For fans, this was the kind of surprise that instantly elevated the night. Johnny Depp was already sharing the stage with Alice Cooper and Joe Perry. Then one of rock's most recognizable guitarists suddenly became part of the performance. Wood joined the Vampires for The Train Kept a Rollin' and Brown Sugar. And there was something almost poetic about seeing Depp and Wood playing together. Depp has spent years moving between Hollywood and rock music. Wood has spent decades at the heart of one of the world's greatest rock bands. Different careers, different generations, but the same language, the guitar. And this wasn't the first time Wood had crossed paths with Hollywood Vampires. He had previously made a surprise appearance with the band in London in 2023. But the 2026 appearance came at a particularly important moment. The Hollywood Vampires had just returned from a long break from European touring. And suddenly, their comeback show included one of rock's biggest names. It made the message impossible to miss. Hollywood Vampires are back. But there was another moment that stood out during the concert. Johnny Depp wasn't simply standing beside Alice Cooper and Joe Perry. He was actively performing. He played guitar, took a solo during Raise the Dead, and performed lead vocals on People Who Died. For someone primarily known as an actor, that's an important distinction. He wasn't appearing for 5 minutes. He was part of the band. And that's exactly why this comeback deserves attention. Because Johnny Depp's music career has never really been a publicity stunt. Hollywood Vampires was formed in 2015 by Depp, Cooper, and Perry with the idea of celebrating the music and legacy of rock musicians who had died. Over the years, Depp has continued to perform with the group and collaborate with other musicians. So when he walks onto a stage in 2026, he's returning to something that's been part of his life for decades. And the audience knows it. That's what makes the atmosphere different. They're not watching Captain Jack Sparrow pick up a guitar. They're watching Johnny Depp the musician. And perhaps that's the biggest story behind this comeback. For years, Hollywood defined Johnny Depp. But music was there before the fame. And now, music is once again becoming one of the most visible parts of his career. The London show also gave fans something else to talk about. The set included a mixture of Hollywood Vampires material and classic rock covers, with songs associated with artists ranging from The Who and Aerosmith to the Velvet Underground and David Bowie. It's exactly the kind of set that fits the band's identity. They're not trying to imitate modern pop. They're celebrating rock history. And Johnny Depp appears completely comfortable inside that world. But this comeback doesn't stop with one concert. The European tour continues through September. And that means there are still more stages, more performances, and potentially more surprises. Because if Ronniewood can suddenly walk onto the stage in London, who knows who might appear next? And that brings us to an even bigger question. Is Johnny Depp's 2026 music comeback becoming a permanent part of his new career chapter? Because Hollywood Vampires are not simply back for one night. They're back on tour. And Johnny Depp is right there with them. There is another reason the Hollywood Vampires 2026 return feels different. They're not just back on stage. They're also bringing their live sound back to fans in another way. On August 14th, 2026, the band released Live at Montreux Jazz Festival, capturing their performance from the famous Swiss festival. The timing is interesting. Just 2 days before the album's release, Johnny Depp and the band were standing on stage at London's O2 Arena. So within the same week, fans were getting both. A live Hollywood Vampires comeback and a new official live recording. For a band built around the energy of classic rock performances, that makes perfect sense. Because Hollywood Vampires isn't really about polished studio perfection. It's about the stage, the guitars, the crowd, the unexpected moments, and the chemistry between musicians. That's exactly what a live album is designed to capture. And Johnny Depp is right in the middle of that experience. For longtime fans, this creates an interesting contrast. Most people first discovered Depp through movies. They know him as an actor. They know his characters. They know his performances on screen. But a live album shows a completely different side. There are no movie cameras, no character, no fictional world. It's simply the musician performing. And that is perhaps why Depp's musical career remains so fascinating. He never needed music to make him famous. Hollywood had already done that. He plays because he genuinely enjoys it. And Hollywood Vampires gives him an opportunity to perform alongside musicians he clearly respects. Alice Cooper brings decades of rock history. Joe Perry brings the sound of Aerosmith. Tommy Henriksen brings another generation of rock experience. And Depp brings his own history as both a musician and a performer. Put them together, and the result is something completely different from a typical celebrity band. The band's original mission also gives these performances additional meaning. Hollywood Vampires was created partly as a tribute to legendary musicians who passed away far too soon. So when the band performs songs connected to artists from rock history, they're not simply playing covers. They're keeping those songs alive for another generation. And that's something Johnny Depp appears to understand. He has always been fascinated by artists who don't fit neatly into categories. Actors who make music, musicians who paint, artists who move between different creative worlds. And that's exactly what he's doing himself. In 2026, Johnny Depp isn't simply returning to one career. He's continuing several: film, art, advertising, and now, music. That's why the Hollywood Vampires comeback could become an important part of his wider career story. It demonstrates that Depp doesn't have to choose between being an actor and being a musician. He can be both. And perhaps that's the biggest lesson from this entire comeback. Johnny Depp's identity was never limited to Hollywood. Hollywood simply became the part the world saw first. The guitar was always there. And now, the world is hearing it again. But the live album also raises another question. If the Hollywood vampires continue touring, could we see Johnny Depp spending even more time on stage? Could there be new music, more concerts, more collaborations, or even another major tour beyond 2026? Nothing has been confirmed yet, but one thing is becoming increasingly obvious. Johnny Depp's relationship with music is far from over. And after the reception to the band's return, it may be entering one of its most interesting chapters yet. There's a bigger story behind Johnny Depp's return to the stage. It's not simply about one band. It's about the direction of his entire career. For decades, Hollywood largely defined Johnny Depp. When people heard his name, they thought of movies. Captain Jack Sparrow, Edward Scissorhands, Sweeney Todd, Willy Wonka. But Depp has never really been only an actor. He's also a musician, an artist, and a creative collaborator. And in 2026, those different sides of his career are becoming increasingly visible at the same time. That's why the Hollywood vampires comeback matters. It shows that Depp doesn't appear interested in limiting himself to one identity. He can return to the movie screen, then walk onto a concert stage, then work on visual art, and move between those worlds without needing to choose just one. For an actor who has spent so much of his career playing fictional characters, music offers something completely different. There is no Captain Jack Sparrow, no Edward Scissorhands, no script, no character to hide behind. When Depp plays guitar on stage, he's simply Johnny, and perhaps that's part of the appeal. Music gives him a kind of freedom that filmmaking can't always provide. A concert happens in real time. The audience reacts immediately. The musicians respond to each other, and every performance has its own energy. That's particularly obvious when something unexpected happens, like Ronnie Wood walking onto the stage. You can't manufacture that kind of moment in a movie. It's spontaneous. It's live. And that's what rock music has always been about. But there is another important part of Depp's musical story: his relationships with other musicians. Hollywood Vampires allows him to perform alongside artists with decades of experience. Alice Cooper, Joe Perry, Tommy Henriksen, and guests such as Ronnie Wood. These aren't simply celebrities standing together for a photo. They're musicians sharing a stage. And that distinction matters. Because Depp's credibility in the rock world doesn't come from being a Hollywood star. It comes from actually playing, performing, practicing, and continuing to return to the stage. That's why the 2026 tour feels like more than a publicity event. The band has committed to multiple performances across Europe, and Depp is right there with them. That suggests this isn't something he's doing for one weekend. It's part of his continuing creative life. And perhaps that's where the real Johnny Depp comeback story is. People often ask, is Johnny Depp making a Hollywood comeback? But maybe that's the wrong question. Maybe the better question is, what kind of artist is Johnny Depp becoming now? Because his future doesn't have to look like his past. He doesn't need to make 5 movies a year. He doesn't need to chase every major Hollywood role. He doesn't need to prove anything. Instead, he can choose projects that genuinely interest him. He can make music. He can create art. He can act. He can collaborate. And he can spend time doing things simply because he enjoys them. That's a very different kind of success. And the Hollywood Vampires are a perfect example. The band isn't necessary for Depp's fame. He doesn't need it to sell his movies. He doesn't need it to maintain his celebrity status. He does it because music has always been part of him. And that makes the comeback feel authentic. So when the lights went down at London's O2 Arena, and Johnny Depp walked onto the stage with his guitar, it wasn't just another concert. It was a reminder. The musician was never gone. He was simply waiting for the right moment to play again. And now, the amplifier is on. The crowd is ready. The Hollywood Vampires are back. And Johnny Depp's rock and roll chapter may be far from finished. So, where does Johnny Depp's rock journey go from here? The Hollywood Vampires 2026 return has already given fans several memorable moments. The London comeback, Johnny Depp back on guitar, Ronnie Wood joining the band, and a new live album capturing their performance at Montreux. But the tour isn't over, and that means there are still opportunities for more surprises, more performances, more collaborations, and potentially more unforgettable moments. The important thing is that Depp isn't treating music as something that belongs to his past. He's actively participating in it right now, and that could be significant for his future. Because when an artist returns to something after a long break, there are usually two possibilities. They do it once, or they realize they still have something to say. For Depp, the second possibility seems particularly interesting. He has continued making music throughout his career, but Hollywood Vampires gives him a platform where music can exist alongside everything else he's doing. And that could open the door to more collaborations. Perhaps more live performances. Perhaps new recordings. Or maybe simply more time on stage with the band. We shouldn't claim that any of those things are confirmed, but the enthusiasm surrounding the band's return certainly creates opportunities. And there is another reason fans are watching closely. Johnny Depp's movie career is also entering an interesting period. With new film projects and other creative work happening at the same time, his career is becoming increasingly diverse. That's why 2026 may eventually be remembered as a year when Depp stopped being defined by one particular chapter of his past. Instead, he started building several new chapters at once. The actor, the musician, the artist, and the performer, all moving forward together. And perhaps Hollywood Vampires is the clearest example of that change. When Depp steps onto a concert stage, nobody expects him to be Jack Sparrow. Nobody expects a movie character. They expect music. And that's exactly what he delivers. There's something refreshing about that. After decades of fame, an artist can easily become trapped by the image audiences created for them. Johnny Depp could have spent the rest of his career simply repeating the characters that made him famous. But instead, he continues to explore different creative worlds. And music gives him another way to do that. That's why this comeback is worth watching. Not because Johnny Depp is suddenly becoming a rock star. He already has a long history with music. But because he's demonstrating that this part of his identity still matters. And as the Hollywood Vampires continue their 2026 journey, the biggest question isn't whether Johnny Depp can still play guitar. We've already seen the answer. The bigger question is, how much more music does Johnny Depp want to make? Only he knows. But for fans, that's an exciting question to have. Because after nearly 3 years away from European stages, the Hollywood Vampires are finally back. And Johnny Depp is right there, guitar in hand, under the lights, doing something he's loved for a very long time. When people talk about Johnny Depp's comeback, they usually talk about Hollywood, the movies, the characters, the roles. But perhaps there's another version of the story. Maybe Johnny Depp never needed to make a complete comeback, because the artist never really disappeared. The musician was still there, the guitar was still there, and the passion for rock music never completely went away. Now, in 2026, the Hollywood Vampires are back. Their European return has already produced unforgettable moments. Johnny Depp is performing again. Ronnie Wood has joined them on stage. And the band's live music is reaching fans through a new release. It's a powerful reminder that creativity doesn't have an expiration date. An artist can change direction, take a break, explore something new, and eventually return to something they love. That's exactly what makes Johnny Depp's musical journey so interesting. He doesn't have to choose between Hollywood and music. He doesn't have to choose between acting and art. He can do all of them. And perhaps that's the real story of his new chapter. It's not about becoming the Johnny Depp of 20 years ago. It's about becoming the Johnny Depp of today. A musician, an actor, an artist, and someone who still wants to create. So the next time you see Johnny Depp walking onto a stage with a guitar, remember, you're not watching an actor pretending to be a rock star. You're watching a musician who happened to become one of Hollywood's biggest stars. And now, he's picking up the guitar again. The Hollywood Vampires are back. The stage lights are on. The crowd is waiting. And Johnny Depp's rock and roll story, isn't over yet.